Applied to a team, agility can have many advantages. But how do you overcome the complexity of agility applied to the entire company? You have no doubt heard of Agile at scale. After the Agile wave that has swept in, the time has come to take the next step, to extend agility to the entire company. In this video, we are going to discuss what is Agile at scale, how organizations can benefit from scaling Agile to the whole company, and what are some of the frameworks used to scale Agile. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. And if you want to support our work, join our Patreon community. You can find more details in the description. Before we talk about Agile at scale, let's take a look at what is Agile. Agile was first introduced in 2001 in the Manifesto for Agile Software Development. Agile was born as a mindset with 4 values and 12 principles. It was used in software development and challenged the traditional linear waterfall development model, in which entire projects are executed in phases. They are pre-planned, then fully built out before they are tested. In Agile, we build products incrementally and iteratively, which helps teams deliver value to their customers faster and in smaller increments. Taking a more iterative approach makes it easier to keep projects aligned, on track, and relevant, and it allows for the release of a minimum viable product. The rapid delivery of the value in small increments allow teams to change their product based on customer feedback frequently and with lower cost. This helps us to keep up to date with the user's needs and our constantly evolving world. Now that we know more about Agile, what about Agile at scale? Assuming that a company is trying to address big problems in a short amount of time. This means that the problems cannot be solved by a single team. And as a result, the company sets up several teams to work on the same big problem at the same time. This is called scaling, because the company is trying to scale its own size to fit the size of the problem, and typically through the number of teams. Scaling a company is a choice. It is not mandatory. Companies could also choose to keep their problems small, which means keeping their size down. But as bigger problems means bigger revenues, most companies choose to solve bigger problems, which pushes them to scale up their organization. In this context, several frameworks offering to provide a set of practices and tools for the implementation of agility at scale have emerged. Among the best known and used, we have Scaled Agile Framework, also known as SAFe. We have Scrum at Scale, Large-Scale Scrum or less, and the Spotify model. Scrum at Scale is an Agile at Scale framework provided by Jeff Sutherland, one of the co-creators of Scrum and co-authors of the Agile Manifesto. Scrum at Scale is based on the fundamental principles of Scrum, with a high focus on Scrum teams, reusing as much as possible from the existing artifacts and elements from Scrum. One interesting element of Scrum at Scale is to achieve linear scalability through a scale-free architecture. This is combined with a minimum viable bureaucracy concept, where minimal processes help maintain efficiency and consistency at scale, without hampering creativity. Since Scrum at Scale is based on Scrum, the Scrum roles of Product Owner and Scrum Master are used and have the same skills as those defined in the Scrum Guide. With the concept of a team made up of teams, new roles are introduced. The Chief Product Owner, The CPO works with individual teams and product owners to align backlog priorities with all relevant stakeholders and define the strategic vision for the Scrum teams. The CPO is responsible for generating a single backlog for everyone within the Scrum of Scrums. Then we have the Scrum of Scrum Masters, who is responsible for common efforts to deliver and has the same responsibilities as a Scrum Master, but at scale. As per the Scrum at Scale events, as Scrum evolves, teams continue to apply Scrum as usual, with just one additional event, the large-scale daily Scrum, which a representative from each team must attend. The content is very similar to the daily Scrum, where 15 minutes each day should be spent on obstacles the team faces in trying to achieve the sprint goal, risks to other teams, dependencies between teams, ways to improve, and knowledge that can be shared by other teams. Now let's look at SAFe, the Scaled Agile Framework by Dean Leffenwell, to enhance large enterprises set with highly structured and prescriptive methods. Its intention was to scale the enterprise with agile and lean practices for large-scale agile teams to meet large organizations' strategic goals. SAFe has 4 basic values to guide the organization in addressing more common problems. First, alignment. It deals with business priorities and IT outcomes, stakeholder commitments, and plans. Transparency. It entails plans, focus, strategy, progress, and workflow. Built-in quality. It maintains and practices the continuous support and innovative products. And finally, program execution, which monitors, executes the continuous organization plans to improve the product. The SAFe Framework 5.0 is structured on 3 levels. Each level corresponds to a specific level in the product development organization. The first level is Essential SAFe. This level is the basic building block for SAFe. It describes a set of multidisciplinary agile teams working with Scrum or Kanban and some useful principles and techniques. This level describes how these agile teams, representing a maximum of 150 people, can work together on a product at a synchronized pace through an agile release train. The second level is the large solution. This level deals with the biggest challenges, where multiple agile release trains are working together on a product. Another level of roles and rituals will be added at the top of the teams to ensure quality. For instance, the solution train engineer, the solution train, and the solution demo. And finally, the portfolio level. This is where the leaders of an organization work to determine the budget for agile release trains, helps align portfolio execution to the enterprise strategy, and support in providing the business agility through various principles and practices. If you are interested in knowing more about SAFe, there is a huge amount of documentation on their website. You can find their link in the description below. Next, the Spotify model. The Spotify model is not a framework, since it represents Spotify's vision on evolution from a technical and cultural point of view. This is an example of a multiple team arrangement in a product development organization, and it highlights the need for culture and networks. The Spotify model was originally shared as an example of scaled agile, focusing on what was doing Spotify at that moment, but never as a method or framework to be reused by other companies. Still, a lot of people and companies got very interested in this model and ended up trying to reproduce the Spotify model or to cross-breed it with agile at scale frameworks like SAFe. What should be noted about Spotify is that they reached the point of being a learning company. They built up their own framework for their own company, people, product, and context, and they keep challenging it again and again over time. The Spotify model is all about simplicity. When Spotify began to organize around work, the team identified a few important things about team structure. The first building block of the Spotify model is the squad. Squad is similar to a Scrum team. It is a cross-functional and autonomous team, generally composed of 5 to 9 people, that focus on one area of functionality. Each squad has a unique mission that guides its work, an agile coach for support, and a product owner for advice. The squads determine the methodology and the agile framework that will be used. When several squads work together on the same functionality area, they form a tribe. Tribes help alignment between squads and are typically made up of 40 to 150 people in order to maintain alignments. In each tribe, a tribe lead is in charge of supporting the coordination of squads and encouraging collaboration. Although squads are autonomous, it is important that specialists align with best practices. The chapters constitute the family of each specialist. They allow them to maintain engineering standards in place within a single discipline. Usually, a senior technology lead is in charge of the chapters and can also manage the team members of that chapter. Finally, team members who are passionate about a topic can form a guild, which is a community of practice. Anyone can join a guild on a voluntary basis. While chapters belong to a tribe, guilds can relate to different tribes. The guilds do not have an official leader. Instead, one person can request to be a guild lead and helps bring people together. The last framework we want to discuss here is LESS, Large-Scale Scrum. LESS is a very interesting Agile at Scale framework because it focuses on scaling the building of a big product through several teams working together. The framework provides simple systematic rules and instructions in incorporating Scrum in the large projects. It provides ways to share a single product backlog because it is for a product, not for a team, a single definition of done for all teams, a single product increment, potentially deployable at the end of each sprint, a single product owner, several multidisciplinary teams in parallel, and a single sprint to deliver a common deployable product. The first meeting in LESS is the Sprint Planning Part 1, where the product owner and representatives from all teams meet. The representatives self-manage to decide their division of product backlog items. Team members also discuss opportunities to find shared work and cooperate, especially for related items. Then we have the Sprint Planning Part 2. This is held independently by each team. Sometimes, for simple coordination and learning, 2 or more teams may hold it in the same room. The teams will then work simultaneously on their part of the backlog, having their daily Scrum every day as a normal Scrum team, and of course having their product backlog refinement. The Sprint Review is a point of inspection and adaptation that takes place at the end of the sprint. In the Sprint Review, customers and stakeholders review what teams have been able to achieve during the sprint and discuss changes and new ideas. The teams, the product owner, the users, and stakeholders together decide on the direction to be taken for the product. At the end of the sprint, all teams conduct their own retrospectives. It is the same as the One Scrum team retrospective. During each of these team retrospectives, the team also reflects on the larger obstacles that prevent it and the other teams from working. Finally, the overall retrospective. This is a new meeting in large-scale Scrum. Its goal is to conduct a retrospective of the previous sprints from a product point of view. In an overall perspective, the issues explored at the organizational and system levels go beyond the level of a single team. The Scrum Masters and representatives of the different teams participate in the overall retrospective. The product owner can also be there, and possibly the managers. And this is our wrap on Agile at Scale. We will be publishing new videos to explain each of these frameworks a little more deeper. So follow us to receive our next content. And don't hesitate to like and share this video. And for more discussions and contents, join our Patreon community. Thanks for watching.